In terms of Bland, it's obviously unfortunate for him. I feel bad for him. It happened during practice and all that, but obviously a great player, and he'll be working with the medical staff. And there's no timetables there in terms of that, but I do know that we got guys that are ready to play in there at the nickel spot, but also we're also looking at different personnel groups that we can also slide in there and take some of those reps and variations of that. And we'll see how it goes today and the rest of the week. But again, we haven't solidified anything there. In terms of Trayvon Diggs, looking good. He's done a really good job progressing. Didn't really have him during training camp, but he's been really dialed in here the last couple of weeks, and he's looking to get some more reps this week. But we'll see how it goes today and through the rest of the week as well. And then the Clowney visit, anytime we can look at players, but we do feel great about our defensive line depth. But pass rushers are at a hard to find, and we're always going to look at that. And again, I don't have any updates on where that is right now, but we'll probably have some updates here in the near future of if or when or not. So we'll see with that. With that, I'll open up to questions.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Obviously, without Bland, how are you going to manage Diggs, or if that's where you're headed, how are you trying to manage that other outside spot?
Yeah, you really just got to, you got to look and see how guys practice. We got some guys in there that have experience in the scheme, not necessarily playing in the scheme, but so we'll just see where it goes this week.
In the nickel, Reedy, Zion Childress, how do you evaluate those two guys? We haven't seen much of them other than.
Yeah, so we had Reddy Stewart. He was there with us at the last stop, and then he ended up playing in a game or two for us. So he knows the position. Zion had a really good camp, for us, and we'll just keep evaluating as we go through the week.
Matt, Todd Archer, ESPN. You mentioned that you like your D-line depth. What did you like about what they did against the Eagles? And you brought pressure, it seemed, or you did more in the second half in that game to bring some pressure. Was that because what they weren't doing in the first half, or how do you?
Yeah, in terms of improvement, obviously, 4=1 rushing, keeping the quarterback in there. Last week's quarterback was certainly a challenge for that. He's been a challenge for everybody. And we have the same challenge this week. We got a guy that's got great experience, very accurate thrower, can move in the pocket, can flush out, and make throws on the run and all those things. So it'll be a great challenge for us in light of what happened last week. So we're excited about the challenge. And but to answer your second part of the question, anytime you can send pressure to fill lanes up, that's always a good thing. You minus one gap out of there. So anytime we can get a chance to do that, we will.
And then you brought Diggs on a blitz. I think it's the first time he's ever blitzed in his career. What would be your coaching point when he's coming at the quarterback to make sure he gets him on the ground?
Yeah, when you're dealing with strong quarterbacks in the pocket like that, it doesn't matter if you're a defensive lineman or a second-level player that's going to pressure. There's technique involved in it. And if you go in there and throw yourself at it, it's a lot of times you'll miss it. So you got to start to gather yourself. You got to do a great job of wrapping up through the waist, as you punch the football. And those guys have that skill set to do it. We just got to improve the technique with the coaches.
John Machota with The Athletic. With the way you guys played in the second half, there's always this talk of, they made these halftime adjustments and things like that. Were there big halftime adjustments, or are those just part of adjustments you just make throughout the game?
Well, that weather delay was like a college halftime. You can put a whole new defense in. So yeah, we had a chance to meet during halftime like we always do. That's typically pretty short, though. It's about 10 minutes, or so by the time you get in there. And then we had the extra time, in there with the weather delay. So kind of just circled the wagons and what was best for us and talked to the players about what was best going forward. And they knew exactly what we were going to call going into that last part. And they did a nice job of executing. And again, it wasn't anything revolutionary stuff, all the stuff we did in camp, all the stuff we've done all the way. So but the guys did a great job of executing there at the end.
And then specifically with Kenny Clark working with Osa, what did you think of game one with them?
Yeah, I said it last week and I'll say it again, it's a true pro. He's really helpful for the young guys, but working along with Osa, Sally had a good game and has had a good camp and a good week of practice, and he continues to impress. But having those three guys with experience in the middle there is pretty cool.
Joe White, Dallas Morning News. I know you ran a lot of zone last week, but Malik Neighbors is a guy they target often. Is that someone that maybe you would consider saying, hey, maybe we'll try to target, with your current corner situation, some traveling maybe, or keep some guys specifically on his side or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that's always a good idea. If you can travel a guy, I think that's important, in certain spots. But I also believe that you got to be able to run your scheme, right? And you can run your scheme and tilt your scheme to players. And that's what we've done in the past, and I think that's important to do that. But there's a lot of good players over there. The slot receiver is a great player. Tight end is a big, wide catch radius, big player. So they have good skill, and it's going to be a challenge for us.
Trayvon was talking about his ramp up and says, I want to get more plays, but I kind of want to take it slow. In terms of maybe now that there's an injury and seeing how many snaps he can actually go, is it one of those things we're going to see how the rest of the week goes and how he reacts, or do you want to see him get more snaps?
No, I think he'll get more snaps. And then we just, how many that is, we'll see. That kind of goes back to the evaluation during the week here in the next couple of days.
Nick Harris, 4-Star Telegram. What was it about Reddy Stewart coming out of Troy that you liked, and then in your 1 year with him last year in Chicago, what was enticing when he was on waivers that you wanted to go out and grab him?
Yeah, he's got really good quickness, and his ball hawking ability. I really believe that he's did a great job in college taking the ball away, and he certainly has shown that through the time he's been with us. And so he's got tremendous ball skills.
And then with Maris Leofeld last week, 6 defensive snaps, and Schottenheimer had said he probably earned the right to get some more snaps. What was it about Maris Leofeld maybe not getting as much in week 1, and what's kind of his outlook moving forward?
Yeah, everything's a competition, and it's evaluated at every practice. And, Damone did a really good job in camp during that time, and so did Maris. Maris did a great job, too, and he's practiced his tail off the last week and this week, and he's earned the right for those reps.
Babe Loffenberg, 105.3 The Fan, Cowboys Radio.
Babe, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
All right.
So the game ends, we look at the stat sheet, team gained 130 yards and average 4.3 a carry or whatever. When you go back in, do you categorize, we all talk about stopping the run. There's the handoff to the running back. There's quarterback designed runs now, obviously more prevalent, and scrambles. So like Russell was the leading rusher for the Giants last week, obviously Hurts for Philly. So when you look at rush defense, do you compartmentalize those?
I think you have to. I really do, because it's really evaluating different aspects of the defense, right? So, quarterback runs, design runs, and runs are all part of the running game to me, right? And then obviously QB scrambles are the pocket, guys at the second level being able to, help with that in terms of spy or shark, whatever you want to call those things. So they are two different categories. Last week, against the opponent we played against the design runs, we were 2.89, in the rushes. So you guys felt that we were hammering the run game when on the design runs, and we didn't do a very good job keeping them in the pocket. And that's where we got all those extra yards, and that's why the rush yards look that way. But we got to do a great job of doing both. Because those are still first downs, and we got to get them off the field. Got to improve on third down. We weren't very good at that until the second half. So we got to start faster. So that's where we need to be.
Tom.
Tommy Arsh, DallasCowboys.com. Matt, Russell Wilson's kind of known for his moon ball where he throws it 100 feet in the air and just kind of drops it in. How do you defend against that, and how do you coach your corners to be disciplined and not, draw pass interference penalties if maybe they're expecting the ball to come down a little bit sooner?
Yeah, I mean, one of the best deep ball throwers in recent time. I mean, he can really throw the deep ball, and we got to be in position, and you got to have poise, at the catch point on those deep passes, because they are taking a while, so you don't get your fouls. And then at the catch point, you got to do a great job, as a DB, and we work on that all the time. Overstreet does a great job with that. DT does a great job with that, and so does Curtis. So we're going to continue to work on it all week. We know the balls are coming there in the deep part of the field, and we got to do a great job of having poise and being really good at the catch point.
Ed Werder, WFAA. You've been talking a lot about these dynamic running quarterbacks or quarterbacks who can escape the pocket. You play almost all of the elite guys except Lamar Jackson this year. What kind of priority do you attach to that aspect of the game, and what do you have to do well to succeed?
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects of it. Obviously limiting the explosive pass, would be number one, and then, you know, in situational football, you're going to have to challenge. You know, if you're going to move your defense around, albeit personnel or scheme, you're going to have to do some of that. And so it's a challenge. You know, it's a challenge, especially when you have two guys. You know, if you have two players that you really are worried about and concerned about, that's definitely makes it more challenging on defense. But that's week to week, and like you said, in our division, it's going to be every week that we play those guys, and but it's always a challenge.
Garrett.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Matt, you played the lowest amount of man coverage in week 1 of any team in the NFL. So with the heavy zone, what all goes into disguising it, even though most teams understand you guys are going to play zone? And how do you feel like a defense in Dallas that's played a lot of man in the last few years has adjusted to that?
Yeah, I would say that you know, there's different types of zone. You know, so there's zone where you're vision zone, and there's also match where you match up, and those to me are different because you do have a body on a body, and we have variations of that from a shell, variations of that from single high. So we're going to mix our coverages like we always do, and mix our disguises.
And how do you feel like, do you feel like zone helps maybe mask when there's injuries like you're dealing with now? Do you feel like it's easier to defend in pass coverage when you're more in zone?
I do, but you also have to cover them at some point. You know, in situational ball, you got to cover them. It's like quarterback has to throw from the pocket at some point, and DB's got to cover. You know, so it's a mix and match.
Finish with Calvin and Patrick.
We've had a lot of discussion about Mazi Smith in this space. What does he have to do to probably get on the field a little bit more?
Just consistency. You know, he's done it. You know, just at a more consistent level, and that's really it. And that's been our message to him throughout the building, and he's improving on that for sure.
Hey, Flus, Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com.
Patrick, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? In the second half against Philadelphia, your defense did a much better job when Jalen Hurts broke pocket, broke contain. You forced him sideways instead of letting him get vertical. What, from your purview, led to that improvement over the first half, and how can you carry that in against another mobile quarterback in Russ?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things there. You know, a scheme adjustment was there. You know, we just got to do a better job early. You know, and you know, I think we had the right stuff on. We just got to be able to execute and coach it better. You know, early on. So we have to do a better job as a group, coaches and players.